So today what I'm going to show you here is I'm going to show you one way of ranking the products without using RANKX function. We all know that RANKX function can be used to rank the products or rank the customers based on sales. Now here what we will do is we will try to rank the products based on orders without using the RANKX function. So before we dive into that, let me show you the small table that I have. So my table is orders, which has just 3 columns: product ID, customer ID, and quantity sold. So what we are going to do is we are going to give a ranking to the product ID based on the quantity that has been sold. So to do that, what I will do is I'll first come to this report view and click on matrix. Okay. Now what I will do is I will add product ID. So I select this matrix and then choose product ID, and then I'll move this to rows. Okay, now what I'll do is let me change this font size. Okay, I hope this is fine. Now what I will do is I will just create one simple measure. For instance, if I say new measure, so suppose I create something called sales, which is a sum of quantity sold. Okay, now I will add this measure into the matrix. Okay, so now you can see the sales made by each of these products. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to create another measure which is used to rank these products, which will show the rank of each of these products based on the sales it has paid. So now what we will do is we will create another measure which uses some filter context and iterator functions to rank the products based on the sales. So let's dive into creating another measure. So I come here, click on new measure. Now suppose I call it as product rank. Okay, so let me first type the formula and then I will explain you how it is working. Okay, I have created the measure. Now let me add the measure to the matrix. Okay, so you can see that the product rank is showing the rank for each of these products correctly. So with the product ID 1 showing the rank as 1 because it has the highest sales of 700. Similarly for product ID 4 the sales is 600. So this ID 4 has got the rank of 2. Okay, so we can see that the product IDs are ranked properly. Okay, now before we discuss about removing this total row or at least hiding the rank for this total row because it doesn't make sense in this case, so what we will do is we'll first try to understand how the formula is working for these 4 products. So if I show you the formula here, okay, so what I am doing here is since it is a measure, okay, let's try to understand how it is running for one of the product ID. Let's take the example of product ID 2. Okay, so for product ID 2 the rank is 3. So let's try to understand how this product has got this rank of 3. Now if I just show up this measure here, so if you try to understand this, since the measure is going to execute based on the filter context for every cell, Now when the measure is evaluated for this cell, what happens is the variable current sales that I have created here, it holds the value of the sales for that particular product. So in case of product 2, current sales will have value of 400, and then we have another variable which is using a sumx function. As we all know, sumx is an iterator function, which means it is going to repeat the execution of this expression for every row that we have in the table that is passed as the first argument. So the first argument that I am passing to sumx is all orders, because I want this expression to run for every row in my table. So if you see the expression here, what I am doing is I am comparing sales. So if you see here, the sales here would be different for every row in the orders table. So when it is iterating for the first row in the sales table, so in the sales table the first row is for product ID 1 and whose sales is 700. So when the iteration is happening, during the first iteration the sales will have a value of 700, while the value of current sales will always be 400. Because this will be 400 because we have taken the value of product ID 2 into current sales variable. So this will be 400 every time during the iteration, but the value of sales would be different during the iteration. So now what we are doing here is that we are checking if the value of sales for each of these products is greater than the current sales, which is product ID 2, which is 400. So while the iteration is happening, so this condition becomes true only for those products whose sales is greater than 400. Which is, there are two products in our orders table, which is product ID 1 and product ID 4, whose sales are greater than 400. So if you notice this carefully, what we are doing is whenever the condition becomes true, we are taking a value of 1. And then ultimately when you do the sumx, so we are going to have two product IDs, so which means we are going to have two ones. So when you do a sumx, the output of this count variable would be 2. And then ultimately to rank the current product, which is product ID 2, what we need to do is we need to add +1, because we know that there are two products whose sales are higher than product ID 2. So the rank of the current product, which is product ID 2, becomes 2 + 1, which is 3. So this is how it works. I hope you understand this. Now the other thing that we need to look here is, we know that the total has got a value of 2000, which is the sum of sales for all the product IDs. But when you see the rank, it is showing a value of 1, which sometimes may be not required, because when you see the total row, obviously it is going to have the highest value, and I don't think a lot of times we would need to see this rank. So there is a way to hide the rank for the total row. What we need to do is we just need to update the measure little differently. So I'm going to update the measure here by putting an if condition. So what I'll do is I'll say so I'll just make this change and press enter. Now you see that we don't see any rank for the total row. So if you see what I have written here, what I am doing here is I have used values function of product ID. So as we all know, values is going to return the distinctive values of this column that we have passed. So when this is executed for the total row, so values is going to have 4 distinct values, which is 1, 2, 3 and 4. And then when you do the count rows, the count rows gives an output of 4. 4 is not equal to 1, which means you are not going to execute this for the total row. But when you take the case of every other row, if you take the case of product ID 1, the values output is going to have just one record, and count rows will always be equal to 1. So the condition becomes true, and then you will see that the rank is shown. So this is how you hide the values if you don't want to show the rank for the total row. I hope you understand this. Thank you for watching this video.